Shalom Racha, good morning, Ahuvai Verei. Here we are in the week of Purim. So, Siyata Deshmaya, let's turn to the following. We know it's a famous Gra and a Likutei Gra based on Kisvei Arizal, based on Tikkunei Zohar, that Yom Kippur, which is Shabbos Shabboson, is Yom KiPURIM. It's the day that's like Purim. In fact, the Vilna Gaon writes in his Likutei that Yom Kippur, which the Mishnah Tainus describes Chavav Amud Beis, Yom Chasunoso, Yom Simchas Libo. It's the day of the Chasana, the day of Bishlom Yom KiPURIM, Yom Desvei Slicha Mechila, Yom Sheninu Bo Lucha Shnias Luchas Achrayis. The Gemara later on in Tainus, the bottom of Daf Lam and Amud Beis. Amela, that's why the Mishnah tells us Laha Yom Tovim Liyasol Kechamisha Asarava Kiyom KiPURIM. It's a Gavaldig Yontav. It's the Yontav Mountain Torah. It's when we got the Lucha Shnias. So why don't you celebrate by the Chasana? Frek the Gra, you got to celebrate. Where's the Suda? Hazak the Gra, Yom Kippur. There was no Suda. It's a fast day. It's a day of Tshuva. But don't worry, because its other half will be the Tashlumin for the Suda. What's Purim? Purim the day, Yom Kippur KiPURIM. Purim will serve as the Hashloma, the Begchina of the Tashlumin. For the Suda that you were missing, Yom Kippur time, you'll have Yemei Mishte V'Simcha. You'll have Sudas Purim, and that'll be the celebration of the Lucha Shnias that you got in Yom Kippur. That's one Nakuda. I want to ask, like mentioned by the Vilna Gaon, but the Vilna Gaon says as well, we know we have a Gemara twice in Shas. Be'etes vav psachim samaches. Amachlokes Rabbi Lozer and Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Yeshua from the school of Beis Hillel, we espouse his opinion. Every Yom Tiv is Chalkeo, Chatzi L'Shem and Chatzi L'Chem. That's why the Vilna Gaon writes, Panina Mishulchan Agra, Parshas Re'eh. Why do we call it a Yom Tiv? A Yom Tiv is Gematria 73. How do we get to Gematria 73? We divide every Yom Tiv, Chalkeo, divide it up, Chatzi L'Shem and Chatzi L'Chem. Allah Hashem is Lamed, juxtaposed to Shem Hashem, that's 30, and 26. 30 and 26 is 56. La Hashem. What's half of La Hashem? Half of 56, 28. Put that in your back pocket. Lachem, Lamed Chaf Mem, Gematria 90. Half of Lachem is 45. 45, half of Lachem, added to the 28, which is half of Lashem, is Gematria 73. That's B'diuk, exactly Gematria Yom Tov. Writes the Gra. Pidin Mishulchan Agra, Parshas Re'eh. Why is it called a Yom Tov? Yom Tov, a good day. That's why it's a question, the Satam Arav, the Minchas Elazar, good Yom Tov. What's a good Yom Tov? A good day? It's a separate question we've tackled in the past. How Koponim Yom Tov, Gematria 73 is the combination of Chalkeu, dividing it up in accordance with Rabbi Yeshua from Beis Hillel's opinion. Divided up, half of Lashem. Lashem is Lamed Hashem, 30 and 26 is 56. Half of 56 is 28. Half of Lachem, which is Gematria 90, is 45. 28 and 45 is exactly 73. Hence Gematria Yom Tov. We divide up every Yom Tov, half for God and half for us. The Rambam seems to be mashmitz, mamash, an equal break. 50-50, the Prima Godim and other Gedolei Apos can point out, Avanda, certainly it's Lavdavka. That means you'll have time for God, for davening, for learning, you'll have time for you, for the Suda, etc. So divide up every Yom Tov. Ask the Gra. Aloha Yom Tov Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is Kulo Lashem. It's all davening. It's a day of Ne'ilah. It's a day of Kon Nidre. It's a day of Tshuva. And Tefillah, Slicha Mechila. It's a day that all is given over to God. There's no eating. It's Chamishi Nuyim. No Achila, no Shtia, no Rechitza, Sicha, Nila, Sasano, Tashamita, Mechule. And what is Purim? Purim is a day that, at least at face value, superficially, bespeaks the notion, the concept of Kula Lachem. It's Yom Mishte V'Simcha. It's all about you. The whole day is about you. Where's the Lashem? All right, it's the Vilna Gaon. That's why Tikkunei Zohar is telling us Yom Kippur is Yom KiPURIM, the Hainu. The two-sided coin of Yom Kippur KiPURIM. It's really two halves of one Yom Tov. Shnei Chatzom L'Matbei. It's really two sides of the coin. One side of the Yom Tov is Yom Kippur, that's the Chelek, that's Lashem. The other side, that's the Chelek of Purim, that's Kulo Lachem. The Mela, what emerges is one Yom Tov called a Yom Tov of Yom Kippurim. The Purim is the Chelek Lachem, the Yom Kippur is the Chelek Lashem. And Mela, when you merge, you fuse the two Yom Tov together. In essence, what emerges is one Yom Tov called Yom Kippurim. Half is Yom Kippur, that's the Chelek, that's Lashem. Half is Purim, that's the Chelek chelek lachem. Melo, it's not an exception to the rule. The two-sided yontif, the two-tiered yontif of Yom Kippur, Yom Kippurim, really produces one composite whole, one yontif that emerges, which indeed is chalkeu, half laHashem, half lachem. The chelek of eating and drinking and being merry is for you. The chelek of the davening and the learning of Yom Kippur and the tainis, that's laHashem and Mela. Writes the Gra, the two come together. Gishmak. Alpi the Gra, let's be Mamshich the Kamhala, let's take it another step further. Based on the Vilna Gaon, Yom Kippur, Kippurim, is understood that they're two halves and one yontif. Tahainu, it's not stam to be marames, to subtly allude to the fact that Yom Kippur, however holy and sanctified it is, it's only a day that's like Purim, that sits alone atop the pedestal, the Umas, in contrast to all the other Yom Tovim. The Vilna Gaon is being Megal is revealing to us that what Chazal mean in Tikkunei Zohar, that Yom Kippur's Kippurim, is that in essence there's an aspect of the Yontif where they really form two sides of the same coin. They're really one Yontif, where Purim is the Chelek Lachem, Yom Kippur is the Chelek Lashem, and in essence Yom Kippur is also highlighting that the two merge and fuse together, and when the ensuing synthesis is that one composite whole that consists of a Purim on the one hand and a Yom Kippur on the other hand. Okay? Based on the Gra, let's be mamik a shtickle more. Let's delve a little more deeply. The Feiner, what we have is now based on the words of the Vilna Gaon, one yontif that's comprised of two chalakim, two distinct halves, the half of Yom Kippur and the half of Purim. And now what's fascinating is the Medrash Shochatov Mishlei and Parsha Test, the Yalkut Shimoni as well, tells us that la'asa lovo kol amodim yubatelim chutz Purim. It's also the Rabbi Yochanan Reish Lakish and the Yerushalmi in Meseches Megillah, Parakal Volachahei. But let's go with the Lashon and the Medrash Shochatov. Lashon level, the modim, you're going to be Botel, except for Purim. Again, this is Chuvas Arashba, and many interpretations exactly what that means. Rav Chaim and Rabbi Tzal Alohi in the Sefer Chaim, Chelek Parnas V'Chakol and Gimel Gimel is also Marach, exactly what that means, that all the modim are going to be Botel, except for Purim. Akopanim, we have Purim. Then we have another Mandi Yamar, Af Yom Kippurim. Interesting. Purim is going to be around when all the other Yom Tovim, Mabotel, Mavuto, when Mashiach comes, Achras HaYomim. And yet we have another Mandi Yom, Yom Kippur. So that means in a certain sense, Yom Kippur is also like Purim, that they're going to be around forever. What's this idea, or at least one of many ideas, and that they're going to be around forever? Perhaps the idea is as follows. We know that initially the world was going to last forever. Eibishter created the world, places Adam and Chava. Had they gone into Shabbos Kodesh, fulfilling that command of L'Shomer, not to eat from the Eitzadas Tovarah, they would have bought the worldly day Ashlama. In turn, they would have bought themselves to their own respective Shlemos. That's it, the world would have been complete. We would have gone already to that Kufa utopia of Yemos Mashiach of Haba Nitzchis. We wouldn't need any Misa, Adam Rishon, and Chava eating from the Eitzadas. What happened? They bought Misa, the concept of death, and all sense of dystrophy and deterioration and decay into the world. Everything negative, everything pejorative entered the world on the heels and the aftermath of that grave sin of eating from the Eitzadas Tovarah. But the world initially was what? Was going to be around forever. Now, with Purim, and according to one Madi Yomar, Af Yom Kippurim around forever, that means they're shaykh to the way things were initially. You bet. Why? Because the world initially was going to exist forever. It was going to be in that matzav of Yemos Mashiach, Kilu Tchis HaMesim forever. We wouldn't even need a Tchis HaMesim. There would be no Misa. That would have to be reversed. Since a world Kilu, that would have been the Achros HaYomim already from the very beginning. Ella, what happened? Adam and Chava were given a command. But Rabbi say, even though the Ibn Ezra and other Rishonim might be Mashra, there was only one command. We have Radak, Rav David Kimchi. We have Rabbeinu Bachai, two Gedolei Rishonim. We have a Meshach Chachma, who's Machavan Midaited and Avshei says it of his own accord, isn't referencing the Radak Rabbeinu Bachai, but you have a Radak Rabbeinu Bachai and a Meshach Chachma going back to Breisisberg, Beis Pasuk to Zion, that Adam and Chava were actually given, and not just one command at the very outset, they were given two commands. Not just the Lo Saseh of Meitzadas Tovarul Osechameno, but yet it was preceded by a Mitzvah Saseh, a positive command. Let's go in for a closer look. Let's turn back the pages. Bracious, here we are, Perek Beis Pasuk Tezayin. Vayitzava Shalokim al Adam Lamar. God gives a command on Adam to say as follows: From every every eitz in the beautiful, glorious garden I want you to eat. And not stop to eat, but achol tochel, you shall surely eat. The kfeila solution for the added emphasis. And from this tree, don't eat. Why? Writes the Radak, writes the Meshech Chochmah. Adam wasn't just given the command, don't eat from these trees. He was given a specific bazundra command, go into my garden, and now you can draw the obvious inference. If God tells you, okay, Adam and Chava, here's my beautiful garden, it's filled, replete, with myriad, all types of sundry trees. Eat all the culinary delights, the mangoes, most popular fruit in the world, by the way, bananas, apples, and oranges, whatever you want. It's all there for the taking. If God were to tell Adam, don't eat from this tree, then I could draw the obvious inference, the mashmos, that Mamela can eat from everything else. No, so therefore the Rishonim and the Meshech Chochmah telling us, Hashem Yisbarach went out of his way to start things off with a unique positive commandment. Adam, I want you to go into my garden, and I'm being mitzvah you. Go into my garden, and I want you, Badafka, to go and eat from the trees. And writes Rabbi Simcha from Davidskin, his Meshech Chochmah, had Adam gone into the garden and eaten the mangoes and the apricots and the peaches and the plums and the bananas and the coconuts and the apples and oranges, had he eaten from those other trees, l'shem shamayim, Sota Chav Aleph, mitzvah would have been Megan, Bina, Beshaita, and would have shielded them, it would have provided metaphysical protection, and they never would have been lured by the seduction of the Yetzer Hara of the Nachash HaKarmaini. Had they gone out into the garden and eaten l'shem shamayim, they never would have sinned. So what happens? We have two commands. Adam is placed in utopia. This is perfected society. All you got to do, Adam, is I want you to bedavke eat from these trees. Mitzvah saseh number one, and me'etz hadas tovara. Mitzvah saseh, mitzvahs lo saseh number one. Don't eat from this tree. A positive commandment: go out bedavke and eat from all the trees in the garden. A negative commandment: lo saseh, do not eat from the eitz hadas tovara. So what happens? Right? So Meir Simcha, Adam messed up on two counts. Not only did he eat from the eitz hadas, he was enjoined, he was prohibited from partaking of the forbidden fruit. But he also didn't eat all the permitted fruit. He did not eat l'shem shamayim. So based on the Radak, my humble opinion, the portrait that emerges is fascinating. Adam is placed into perfected utopian society. The world is perfect, and this is going to take us to Achros HaYamim. God gives him two commands, and I say, eat from these trees. Alos I say, don't eat from this one single tree. Adam messes up on two accounts, as Meir Simcha writes explicitly. He did not eat l'shem shamayim, and that's why Meshech Chochmah says we have a source for loso statement in the Yerushalmi and Kedushin. Perek Dal Lochi Yud Beis Asad Litein Doch Din V'Cheshbon Kol Ma She'eina Vrov Lo Neni Man. Where does that come from? You're going to have to give a reckoning because you didn't get you didn't eat steak, you didn't eat ice cream, you didn't eat pizza. Where does that come from? It comes from Mikol Eitzagan Ochel Tochel, and where God says, I want you to enjoy the delights of the world. I want you to enjoy Tanugi Olam Hazeh, but do it l'shem shamayim. Do it for the right reasons. Do it for noble pursuits, and not to satisfy your own lust, greed, and desire. But in the end of the day, there's an asay and there's a los asay. So Adam messed up. So where's the tikkun for his mess up? When do we go and try and rectify the fact that, like the Meshech Chochmah, Adam Rishon didn't only eat the forbidden fruit, but he didn't eat l'shem shamayim, the fruit that was permissible all along. He didn't eat the apples and oranges and the coconuts l'shem shamayim. We have two back-to-back psukim, and Asay and Alos Asay. And like the grow, we have a back-to-back yontiv. On one side of the yontiv is Purim. On the other side of the coin, the other side of yontiv is Yom Kippur. Rabbi say, listen into this. It's a mamish. It works out kishmak. Eibishter says, I'm going to give it to Yom Tovim. And also love all the modim are going to be bato except for Purim. A Rabbi Yom Alosim are going to afilu Yom KiPURIM. What shayches? Because these two Yom Tovim together are taking us back to the beginning. What was in the beginning? Adam messed up. All the neshamas of God's Klal Yisrael, as the Arizal writes in Shar Gegulim, as is already indicated by the Medrash and Shmos Rabbi, as the Avri Nacha writes, Levushe Sered in Durish Aleph and Bereshis, all the neshamas were encompassed spiritually, metaphysically, and that gargantuan neshama of Adam Rishon. Adam sins, we all sin together with him. How do we rectify the mistake? Yishmak. Adam ate the forbidden fruit. There's going to be one day a year. Yom Kippur, what are you going to do? On Isser, there's only one D'Oraisa fast day. Yes, there's Tishma B'Asar B'Tevis, the Rabbanans. Mid'Oraisa, there's one Torah obligated fast, and that's Yom Kippur. One day a year, Klal Yisrael, work on rectifying the fact that you ate the forbidden fruit, and do what? Abstain. Full abstention on a biblical level. Full abstention from any achila, from any shtia. Perhaps that's coming in a sense, one aspect of rectifying the sin of having eaten from the Eitzad Tavaro. There's one day a year that's defined as a Yom Mishta B'Simcha. Asom, they made these days Yom Mishta B'Simcha. The famous Brisker Rav. Ayin Rapamaranchik is Talmud Muvah Kenei Brocha. Every the Yontif, if you have a sugya, Arib Sacham Kuftesim and Aleph, Visamata Bechagecha, Eight Simcha Lababasain, Simcha Bayayin, Rabbi Mesem Yoshachar Baseminashain, Simcha Bayanshan, Rabbi Yayin, Simcha Bamenosh. And that's what writes the Brisker Rav. That's an emtsai to get the Simcha. A means to an end is eating the basar, consuming the meat, imbibing the wine. Those are intermediaries. Emtsaim, those are means to an end to be in a matzav in a state of Simcha. Ayin the Shagasai. You could fulfill that commitment with other things. By Purim, it's different, writes the Brisker Rav. The days be'etzem are Yemei Mishta B'Simcha. You have to be Ocha V'Shosa, writes the Rambam. V'Shosa, you're drinking continuously throughout the day, because the whole Atzmius, the whole Etzemahus of the day, the whole definition of the day is you're defining the day of Purim as Yom Mishta B'Simcha. What's that? I want you to eat and drink all day long. As the Gra told us, it's a day that's kula lachem, and you're eating and drinking all day long. What's that rectification? That's a yonta, that's so difficult. About it's difficult. You know why? Because to drink the wine, kula l'shem shamayim. To eat l'shem shamayim, ach barak, to be mekai in the mitzvah of Sudas Hayom. Givaldik, that's an eating l'shem shamayim. Perhaps the Yom of Purim is to be a tikkun for not like the Meshech Chochmah. Mikol vayitzav Hashem l'kim Adam, what did he tell him? He called Eitzagana Chel Tochel. And we didn't eat to the Shem Shemaim. Abishter says, I'm going to give you a Purim as a rectification of sorts. I want you to go out and I want you to eat and drink all day long. And what are you going to do now? Now you're going to eat L'Shem Shemaim as a tikkun also for Nenu Misedosa Shalosa Rasha. You got Hano, you benefited from the Sudas Achashverosh, Megillah, your Bezim and Aleph. You're going to be masaking that, but more than that, on a more profound level, you're going to be masake the fact that you didn't eat all my glorious delights L'Shem Shemaim. Purim is, go back and eat L'Shem Shemaim. Now it's Geshmak. Purim is Masake. The Asay that we didn't do L'Shem Shemaim, Yom Kippur is Masake, is a rectification of sorts of the Eitzad Tavara. And now, Mamela, we understand these two Yom Tov are going to be around Nasalova, of course, because this is the tikkun for getting back to the days of pre the Chet of the Achile Eitzadas, which was the utopian state of Achros Hayomid. This is reversing history's course. This is taking us back to the beginning. Once we rectify the two mitzvahs, the first Asay coupled with the first Los Asay, that we didn't fulfill L'Shem Shamayim. This is the tikkun, and now it's understandable. It's two sides of the same coin, like the Gro Yom Kippur Kippurim. It's one Yontav that's Chatzi L'Shem and Chatzi Lachem. Purim is Masake. The Mikol Tzagano Cheltacho Yom Kippur is Masake. The Eitzadas Tovrol L'Shachameno. Rabbi say it gets even better. The Feiner Staiti. Why it's Geshmak? Because when do we have a Chiyuv to go ahead and eat the day before Yom Kippur? How do you prepare for the fast of Yom Kippur? Let's go to Brachas Chesem and Beis as an obligation to go ahead and eat on every Yom Kippur. Kol Mesane. Anyone who eats Kol Ochel but she on the 9th day of Tishrei on Erev Yom Kippur, Hashem considers it Kilu Masana Chiva Asiri. I know what it comes out. There's a mitzvah to bedavke eat before we get to Yom Kippur. On Erev Yom Kippur, there's a mitzvah, and now bedavke to go ahead and eat L'Shem Shemaim. Rav Tzedek Cohen and others right that through that Achila L'Shem Shemaim you can be masake and you can rectify and perfect all the Shar Achila Shakol Shar Yemos Hashana, and that prepares you for the day of Yom Kippur immediately on its heels, and that's what? And that's the day of fasting. What's Purim? Purim is V'nahapachu. So Rabbi said, let's do exactly that. V'nahapachu. What's Purim? Exactly the opposite. Chazal say it's V'nahapachu. So let's turn Yom Kippur on its other side, because the other side of the coin of Yom Kippur is Purim. Let's turn the coin upside down, and what do we have? A Tainus Esther. On Erev Purim we have a Tainus Esther. That's Mano Kilo like a Yom Kippur. We have a Tainus on Erev Purim, and then Purim is Yom Mishta B'Simcha, where we eat Segavaldik. Here we have Purim and Yom Kippur, two sides of the same coin. God puts Adam and Chava into Gan Eden. I give you a positive commandment to eat, a negative commandment not to eat. come the two Yom Tovim, which is really one Yom Tov, like the Gra, and it's called the two-sided coin of Purim and Yom Kippur. Lefianias daiti mahamla opinion. Purim is the tikkun for not having fulfilled the asay of eating. Al Shem Shamayim. That's Yom Mishta V'Simcha. Go out and eat L'Shem Shamayim, and that's the mahos, the definition of the day itself, as the Brisker Rav told us. Yom Kippur is a day midaraisa of complete, of utter abstention from all achil and shtiyah. That's a day that's cool on Hashem. That's what it's a das. I'm going to stay away. I'm not going to eat. I'm not going to drink. Yom Kippur is a day of fasting where you prepare by eating. Purim is v'nahapachu, the other side of the coin. We turn the coin over. What do you have? We prepare for the day of eating with the day of fasting, Tainus Esther. And immediately on Teos comes Purim, a day of eating. Kishmak, the two-sided this is the tikkun for not having fulfilled those first two mitzvahs, the asay and the lo saseh. Come Purim and Yom Kippur brings about the full-fledged tikkun. La'asa lova kol amodim yibatelim chutz mi Purim. Rabbi Amloza afiva mekipurim. Avada, they're going to be around because they represent the full rectification of these days together. So with the machlekes, it's very good because Purim, maybe with the Tainus Esther and the Purim, I don't even need to come on to the fasting of Yom Kippur. Already with that aspect of the Tainus of Esther as a tikkun, together with the eating, according to the first Mandiyam in the Medrash, all we need is Purim, but Purim represents the full fix, the full rectification, the tikkun gomer of going back to Adam and Chava Kol Machay, how geshmak it is. So Rabbi Sai, Megillah Zayin Beis Amarova Machay Ben Shlubsum Pur Yadol Yada, right? So Shlomo Kulger Chachma Shlomo Nor Chaim, so in Reishai and Aleph. Why do we make Kiddush and Kol Shabracha and Berkas Hamazon and Abdullah? Everything is Hayayin. He says, yes, there's a machlekes twice in Shas, Brachas Taf Mem, Aman Aleph, Sanhedrin Avayid, Ramei, Rabino, Rechinina. What was the food of the Eitz Das? It was a Chit, it was a Tain, it was a Gef, and I, we have Esrog. Right, so Shlomo Kulga, again, we have a Ben Yoyada based on Tikkun Zohar, it was all of them. Right, so Shlomo Kulga, really, we espoused the Shita that it was a Gefen. And that's why, since it was a Gefen, I'm sorry, Rabbi, say, just so Geshmak. So since it was a Geffen, Hamela, what do we have? We have all the kosher brachas, right? So Shlomo Kulger, it's all Geffen because that's the tikkun. Hamela, like Shlomo Kulger, the ikar sheet that we espouse is that it was a Geffen. Hamela, what is Purim? Purim represents the rectification with Tainus Esther, and Purim is the rectification, especially after the Daraisa of Yom Kippur. And now we got to the rectification of Odom and Chava Kodem Achet. Hamela, we masakin it. Rabbi say, now what do we do? Take out the wine. The wine, the Geffen, that was an Eitz Das. So let's take out the wine, we masakin it, and let's celebrate it to the nth degree, not just like Rosh Hashanah. We're going to make Kiddush on it in Avdollah and Kosher Bracha, and that right, Rosh Hashanah will be the tikkun for the Eitz Das, all the Kiddushim and the Avdollahs and the Kosher Bracha. The Feiner Staiti, over here it becomes the Mahos of the day, Shosa Kala Yam Kulo, Yemei Mishte V'Simcha, Chayven Eshlubsumi. Rabbi say, bring out the wine. Why? Bring out the Geffen, because Purim is the day of the tikkun of Odom and Chava's Chait, of not having done the Asay Mikol Etzagan, not having done the Los Asay. Purim brings us back to the future. Purim, you bet, is going to be around forever. It personifies that complete rectification of the Achila, Eitz Das Tavara, and the non-Achila from Mikol Etzagan Chotochel. Purim is around forever. That's Yom Kippur Purim. Our questions are all answered. Have an awesome day and a great rest of the weekend, and a Freilich Purim.